All right, Erica, we're recording, so you can go ahead.
Thank you. So, welcome, and I guess we're gonna get started. I'm not sure, hoping Julian can still join us. We should call to order and just say aloud who's here. Bernie,
Present.
Ken,
Here.
Andy,
Here.
Marcus,
You're muted.
I heard you earlier. Raphael?
Yeah.
And Meg.
I'm here.
Great. I am going to follow Julian's agenda to the extent that I know all of the pieces that he had in mind. I think between all of us, we can put it together. So the first thing on our list, the list I don't have, I'm sorry, before I get started, is who's taking minutes.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Does anyone know?
I think
Off the top of your head?
I'm not sure that I was, but I know that I was on the list at some point when we called off the next, 3-4 people. That was a while ago. So I'll
Are
just
you up for that?
take it. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Great. So the first piece of business is to approve previous minutes. There are two sets of minutes that are in the packet. The one that I submitted came in a little bit late. But would you like to review or approve that one, or should we hold on it because it came in late? That was the April 17th.
I reviewed them.
I reviewed them.
Yeah.
Same here.
Okay.
I can certainly vote on the 17th. I have to abstain on the 24th, but I'd like to make one small point, if I might. And Athena, please correct me if I'm straying. Neither of these minutes has a reference to the documents that were discussed. And my understanding, again, I haven't, can't claim to be current, although I should be, is that when you do minutes, you're supposed to list in the minutes the documents that were before the committee, discussed by the committee, and ideally a link to them. But you at least have to list them out in their formal title, so somebody who wants to follow up on it can find them. So neither of these minutes have a list of documents at the end of them.
That's correct. Bernie, you are correct.
Okay, noted. And Ken, can you make sure that gets noted so that we can pass it on for your minute taking tonight and for future reference? So
I had one potential correction to the 17th.
yeah,
On I think it was the end of the second page, we were talking about the list of feedback that Meg and I had put together, and Julian was quoted as saying that it didn't include the League of Women Voters feedback, but it did. So
oh, okay.
I think I corrected it then, but it should be noted that
It might have slipped by.
It did include. I think I said something like, actually, it did include the League of Women Voters recommendations. So.
It did, and it did include the substance of the two letters we've gotten from our former and current counselors, both of whom possess legal degrees. When I had ChatGPT collate this stuff, I went through after and made sure that nothing got left out, or at least to my best knowledge, that nothing got left out. So yeah,
At least to that date, yeah.
Yeah, to that date. Haven't tried to update it since, but I will take a shot at that in the future.
Okay, so maybe then we shouldn't approve those minutes if they've left out some piece of detail that.
I'm okay approving them as long as we just as amended to include the comment that actually they did include the League of Women Voters
I can correct it
Recommendation.
and resubmit to Athena for the record.
Please.
Okay, so we're motion to approve the minutes from April 17th.
Second.
Let's vote. Bernie,
Aye.
Ken,
I,
Andy,
Aye.
Marcus,
Aye.
Raphael,
Yes.
Meg. You're muted.
Sorry. I abstained because I didn't read them, although
Okay.
sounds
And
good.
I'm an
but I-
aye, so I'm gonna say we approve them with the amendment that Andy pointed out earlier. As far as the April 24th minutes,
I had one edit, and that was just very simply my name.
Sorry, Ken.
I've been
Picky,
called many
picky.
things, Raphael, but not LeBond, as much as that sounds like James Bond.
I'm so sorry.
I wish I was James Bond, but I'm not.
Sorry.
It's okay.
There is a remarkable resemblance.
Oh. Very good.
okay. Other than that, can we make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second, and let's vote. Ken.
Aye.
Bernie,
To abstain, I wasn't present.
Andy,
Yes.
Marcus,
I abstain. I was not present either.
Raphael,
Yes.
Meg,
Yes.
and I am a yes. So I think they have been approved. Okay,
Just out of
Erica,
curiosity, Meg, where are you? It looks beautiful.
I'm in Washington State in the mountains outside of Leavenworth. You see that snowy mountain back there?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Gorgeous.
It looks far better than the rainy outside that is around here. Yeah.
Oh dear.
some thunder off in the distance, but
Yeah.
Erica, if I may,
um,
I'm sorry, Athena has her hand up.
yeah, Athena has her hand up. 1 second. Athena, please.
If someone would please send me the approved the minutes with those amendments so that I can post them. I don't know that I've posted any because I haven't seen the finalized version from the committee.
Do you
Of
mean
the-
any minutes at all, or just these two?
I have to check to see what I've posted, but I need to know that the committee has approved them because I haven't been staying through the meetings. So
Yeah.
if you all, once they're approved, could send them to me with any edits that are made during the meeting. That way I can post them and we have them up to date on the website. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
So Erica, should we each
Yeah.
take responsibility for sending Athena the minutes that we were responsible for that were approved?
Athena, do you want to review and see which ones you're missing, or should we each resend you whatever minutes we took that were approved?
Let me take stock of what's posted and
Okay.
I'll reach out to all of you to see what I'm missing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Bernie had his hand up.
Yeah, I'm going to make what I hope is a simple request. When I looked at our webpage, let me see if I can find it on my screen here. Our meeting packet, there are only 2 documents in there, the minutes. I had to go search for the agenda on the bulletin board. Not that that was difficult, but I had to go do that. And I noted that there are apparently a number of documents that we're going to discuss, or I'm not sure, given the vagueness of the agenda. So what I would like to ask is that in the future, and this is, Athena should not have to hunt this stuff down. She should get this material sent to her. We need to have the agenda as part of our packet, and we need to have copies of any documents the committee's expected to discuss that evening, even if we have talked about those documents before. Now, this isn't simply for my convenience, although it is. I'm being selfish about this, but also for the public. I mean, we all love to talk about transparency. When you go to the meeting packet in the page and find that there is no agenda, and you find just two collections of minutes, that strikes me as not terribly transparent. And it's a matter of clearing this stuff up and being a little bit more proactive about making sure that all of this is lined up for not only the committee, but for the public who is going to access this.
Okay, thank you. And Athena, you had your hand up.
I don't want to take up too much space on this. I appreciate what you said, Bernie. And what Julian had said in the previous meeting was that, and I note that he's here now. What he had said in the previous meeting was that everybody can just send me all the things they want me to post. And that makes my job a little bit more difficult when I have all of you sending different things. It would be really helpful if the chair were to send me a document with the agenda and all of the things. So if Julian, you could coordinate that and then send me the agenda to post with the materials, then I can do it all in one fell swoop and not bits and pieces as I'm receiving emails from all of you. That would make it a lot easier and I think more transparent, so that we have everything in front of us. The members have all of the documents that you need in front of us. And a good way of doing that is, say, 48 hours in advance of the meeting, I get the materials and the agenda so that I can post them all at once. That makes my job a little bit easier. So I would appreciate if we could do it that way. Thank you.
That makes a lot of sense to me. Sorry I'm late, everybody. I had thought that the meeting started at 6:30 in my head. So I was thinking up here, oh, 6:30. And then I got a call and was like, nope, the meeting's starting now. I better open up my computer. So I apologize for that brain fart, if you will. Erica, were you chairing the meeting or?
I was, but I'm handing it over to you. Meg had a comment and then we were just about to go into public comment once we resolve this issue about our agenda.
We dealt with the minutes?
Yep.
Okay, great. So all the minutes are approved. And we'll have public comment after this, and then I'll bring the league in after our outreach subcommittee update. Yes, Athena, that is perfectly fine. I can totally see how that would make things much easier to coordinate on your end. So I could send you an email every like Friday or Monday with a Google Doc that basically, or a PDF that says like, here's the agenda, here's the minutes PDF attached, and here's the other PDFs. What that will require from us members is, if you all have anything you'd like in the documents, please send it to me within 48 hours advance of the meeting. So it can't be like today or tomorrow. I know I got an email from some folks that was like sent today or yesterday. That wouldn't have worked. We'd need it 48 hours before, and don't post it right at the last minute. Try to do a little bit before 48 hours. That way I have a few hours after work where I can actually put and add your thing to the document, so we can actually look it over in the meeting rather than it being more hodgepodge. So I can totally do that. But what I do need from my members is that stick to like even a 50-hour rule. Anything after 50 hours won't be able to get posted and won't be able to be discussed in the meeting. So I can definitely do that for you, Athena. That makes a lot of sense to me. It's much more efficient. So I don't have a problem with that. I want to first do public comment and then I'll get to your comment, Meg.
Oh, it's just related to what we're talking about.
Oh, okay. Then go ahead. Go ahead. Yep.
I agree with what Bernie said very much.
I didn't hear
What? You can't.
I didn't hear what Bernie said. I wasn't here yet.
Anyway, I'm not apologizing. I'm explaining that I sent the email to you last night because the dates were only confirmed yesterday, and I thought it would save time to read something ahead rather than having me describe it. But I appreciate the plan to get things out and get them on the website, particularly get them on the website so we all know where to look ahead of time.
May I ask where you are? It looks very cool.
I'm in Washington State.
Oh, cool.
See the snowy mountain back there?
Yeah. Bernie?
Yeah, what Bernie said was You don't have to go back and watch the tape. What Bernie said was, when we go to the meeting packets page for the meeting, it should contain the agenda.
Yep.
Contain copies or links to all the documents we're going to discuss, even if one of those documents or one or more of those documents were discussed at a previous meeting.
Okay.
So when you go there, it's all laid out. And I like I said, I'm being selfish. It's easier for me that way, but it's also, we talk a lot about transparency. And when Mr. and Ms. Public goes to our meeting packet page,
Yep.
it will be helpful for them if they can see all of what we're going to talk about.
So does that, Athena, would it be easier if I send you the agenda in a document so that way you can post it right over without having to copy paste?
The meeting notice it needs to include the list of topics, and that gets pasted in. But if you all would like a separate document in the packet that is an agenda document, then I need that separately, or else I'm taking time to.
It sounds like the committee wants that. That's more work for me and Athena, but if Athena's okay with it, I'm okay with it. I could basically create the agenda in a Google Doc and send that PDF to Athena to post. Does that work for you, Athena?
That's perfect.
Okay, great. Okay, so now we'll go on to public comment. I'm noticing that Patricia can't get into the meeting room for some reason. She sent me an email.
I see her in the room currently.
Can you promote her to
I'm here
panelist?
now.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you. I just got your email. And we also have folks from the League of Women Voters. I just want to bring them in afterwards, if that's possible. After public comment. And then I will go forward with public comment. So I see 4 attendees. If anyone would like to make a public comment, not related to the League's presentation, please come in and do so now. I'll give you 3 minutes to speak, and you can click raise hand on Zoom or press *9 if you're on a telephone, or in this case, maybe an iPad. So go ahead if anyone would like to do that. Okay. I don't see anybody. Give it another minute. Okay. I'll pass it to Erica, and Raphael and Meg, you can jump in if you want for the outreach subcommittee update. I know, Erica, you sent me an email with a few different points you'd like to include in this. Feel free to discuss those now, and then we'll bring in the League of Women Voters with their slide presentation. Okay.
So outreach subcommittee, we have a number of things that we wanted to update about. I guess the first thing that's top of mind right now is the scheduling of dates for listening sessions. And we've had some successes and some obstacles, and Meg detailed that in her email to the committee. Meg, do you want to say sort of out loud for the record the current status of the 3 in-person sessions?
Yes.
Which ones are booked and which ones are still pending?
So our plan was to have 3 in-person sessions, one in South Amherst, one in the middle of town, one in North Amherst, and between those to have a Zoom virtual session. The one originally planned for May 22nd, I moved to May 29th, and that's at Crocker Farm. And that's been very difficult, and I'm grateful to Raphael for taking that on. The second one is on June 18th, Wednesday at Bangs, and Diane, the woman scheduled theirs, was very helpful once I finally reached her. Big thanks to Sam and Athena, Angela for helping figure that out. And the last one is at the Survival Center, the 29th of June. We haven't someone has to sign a contract and I don't know who that is. I had one question about the contract, which involved insurance, but I'm sure it's all fine. I can deal with that separately with Athena, who signs the contract. We need to decide, somebody just needs to figure out setting up a Zoom with, I assume with the town Zoom account.
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to talk
yeah.
about that, but I just wanted to say
Okay.
the three in-person sessions. Number 1 is still to be confirmed, and Raphael's working on that. 2 and 3 are booked pending a question about a contract with the
Right.
Amherst Survival Center. Okay, so that's
And if it
just
takes
an
too long to get Crocker, yeah, thank you. We could move the date another week later. I mean, the advantage of moving them later is we'll be more ready, and there'll be more time. But that's the status of those 3.
great.
Grateful to Raphael, and I should have responded sooner to you, Raphael. Thank you for your offer.
We still have to wait for folks. But I think we have the right people and we're just waiting.
Finally,
Yeah, I think it would be great to know though, in terms of like fees and billing and point people, when it comes to booking these spaces, like who will take that role, who will handle that?
right.
That's
I
really
have that
good.
information about fees. 2 of them are free. And I can share that, but I thought our subcommittee could
Yeah, we should
work
deal with
on that.
offline.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's worth our time, given our
No,
big
it's not.
agenda to do
It's
it,
not.
but I do have that information. And the issue about the contract and the insurance is, I'm sure I just have to get an answer so that I don't like signing. I don't know if I'm the one to sign it. That's the kind of
Yeah.
question that we can address, but it's
Let's
booked
check,
and
let's
it's
check in.
booked.
Let's check in offline. Yeah.
But those 2 are booked and we're in the schedule, and
Right.
I know exactly everything about what we need to do
Right.
once we, it's not
Okay.
worth,
I'll check in with you both about Crocker.
thank you.
Great. The rest of the update is, I met with Athena and Sam Giffen from the communications office to talk about a number of things, one of which is the Zoom session that we had in mind for the 4th of those listening sessions, either 1 or 2 of those. We haven't fully decided that piece yet, but the bottom line I can report, we can and should use the town's Zoom accounts for hosting those sessions, and we can get support from Sam and Athena on doing that. There was a question of the sessions that are hosted on, all the meetings that are hosted on town accounts get posted to YouTube. And I don't think that's appropriate for the listening session that we're going to do. So we're just, unless there's some objection from this group, I would think that we don't want to post a public forum immediately onto YouTube, but I'm open to other feedback on that. Andy?
Yeah, I'm just wondering why that wouldn't be appropriate. I mean, to me, it seems like a way to share what happened there for people who couldn't get there, and it is a public forum. So, I mean,
I agree with Andy. I've seen the League of Women Voters have posted stuff on YouTube, and the town did like a housing affordability public forum that got posted on YouTube, and I would argue that that has sort of just as much, if not more, public engagement, personal information, etc., that might be shared.
Okay, any other comments about that?
I think we just need to make people aware of that fact going into it.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will follow up about that. The date for that, for at least one of those sessions is tentatively June 12th, which is Thursday, June 12th, an evening date for that Zoom session. It falls between 2 of the other in-person sessions. And we never landed on whether or not we should schedule the 5th, meaning the second Zoom session. I don't know if this group has thoughts on whether we should book that now, because we also have the option of scheduling another round even if it's potentially a smaller round of listening sessions later in this process, in case we don't catch as many people as we might like to, given the time of year and everything. Ken?
Ken and then Bernie.
Yeah, just a quick question about June 12th. You said the evening. Do you actually have a time block set aside?
I was listing 7 p.m. But like nothing is written in stone at this
A
point.
weekday or weekend evening?
I'm sorry,
Is this a weekday or a weekend
the
evening?
Thursday.
It's a Thursday. Okay.
Yeah.
It would be nice if we had some outreach events scheduled on the weekend, so folks.
Yeah, we do. We do. One of those dates is a
Sunday.
Sunday.
Perfect. Bernie, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, I was just reacting to Erica's comment that you know, there's 4 sessions queued up. I think we can wait on scheduling the 5th, 6th, or 7th. Let's see what we get back from those 4. Take a breather, because everybody leaves town in July and August, and then we'll want to come back.
Oops.
Andy and then Meg.
Yeah, I just I'm hoping that maybe the next round of these might be where we present some stuff and get feedback on actual ideas rather than just collecting input. So that might be a thing to think about.
I agree. Meg.
2 things. The reason we want to make some decision about which we're including and not in this session, I'm completely fine with 4, with only 1 being a Zoom meeting, is so we can advertise them all at once. A second point, so I don't have to raise my hand again. I actually feel that we should not, because we're so far along in the timeline, that to the extent possible, we should, I guess I said this in my email last night, give people a chance to react, because we're going to have a chance to talk about some of the feedback we've already heard, which is significant. Give people, possibly invite the outreach subcommittee to think about structuring these so that we're addressing some of the things that we know have come up. But that's for later in this conversation, I think. There's Vicky too. I think once we get that, the first point, I guess, is more timely. Once we get that Zoom nailed down or make a decision, Samantha's ready to start getting the word out so people start to get these things on their calendars.
Excellent. Erica?
Yeah, the June 12th is the proposed Zoom date, and if the committee feels okay about that, I'm going ahead with the publicity materials that we're generating and delivering to Sam next week, assuming that we lock down the Crocker Farm date, which is the last piece. In terms of that, the meeting that I had with Sam, we confirmed the other piece, which was the proposed website. I don't know if you remember that I had proposed a website. We brought over from the outreach subcommittee 2 ideas: the outreach, a public-facing website for all the outreach that we're doing, and a flyer to help have a kind of uniform publicity face for all these things. Sam was very helpful. She agreed that the website could go forward on an external platform, not buried inside of the town website, but they could sort of link to each other, and that she could help support with maybe help the website that we're preparing have do some branding to make it clear that it is sanctioned and belongs to a town committee and a town process. So I'm gonna deliver publicity materials to Sam next week and work with her on making sure we're complying and also making things look the way they should look. So the idea is that the publicity will direct people to the website for more information, and that information will include our charge as a committee, to the link directly to the charter, maybe to the charter summary that has been prepared, link to directly to the written feedback form, link to the survey when we eventually create it, and link to information and or Zoom links for listening sessions, so that everything is kind of gathered in one place would it be useful to bring that back up on screen, or have we discussed that enough?
I feel like we've discussed that enough. I did have one other thing I wanted to raise with the committee that's somewhat related to outreach, but let me know. I want you guys to be able to finish up first.
What else? The other piece that we wanted to talk about is kind of enlisting the rest of the committee in some of the remaining pieces for what's going to be involved in facilitating meetings. So as an example, and to Andy's point earlier, I think what we had agreed on was that the first meeting would be pretty open-ended and not necessarily thematically structured, and that future meetings, based on what we hear and how it goes, we kind of can give them some more pointed topics. For the first meeting, I think we've agreed that all or some of the outreach subcommittee is going to facilitate that meeting. And then future meetings will have to solicit your participation, right, in twos or threes to facilitate those other meetings in June. Could be an item for a future agenda. We're pursuing as a subcommittee like some recording equipment so that we can keep a record of what is said, so we don't have to be furiously taking notes during listening sessions. Raphael had a great idea to reach out to Amherst Media to see if we can borrow some recording equipment or some sort of even as a simple microphone to help us do that. Raphael, I don't know if you have anything to report out about that yet.
Yeah, we should just check in offline.
Okay.
Good play.
Sounds good. The other thing is we had talked about providing some printed materials at the meeting, at the listening session, like for instance, copies of the charter and or the summary. Copies of the charter might be a little bit harder because they're kind of,
Big.
books. And so, but we could provide a simple two-sided or like a one-pager that is the charter summary. And I don't know, Andy, you had originally created that, put it forward, and also we dug up that org chart that has been helpful in our conversations. And so I was thinking that a charter summary, org chart on the back might be a helpful thing to have around. The communications office can help us make those copies and then we can have them available. But we need to sort of create that thing. So I don't know if anybody wants to volunteer to do that.
Nope. I raised my hand. I didn't want to volunteer.
Andy and Meg.
Well, I mean, I've already created a summary and we have the org chart, and I think we're going to try to run that by the Collins Center to see if they wanted to use that or come up with some other different summary. But I'm happy to help with that if that's useful.
I think that would be great. I think that if you want to take that on, again, keeping in mind that May 29th is the date of the thing, so we want to give a little bit of lead time to whoever's going to make those, produce those copies for us and make them available.
And it might be that the town has some leftover boxes of charter reports somewhere around. I don't know.
Yeah, it may be. And we'll reach out about that.
Yeah. Okay, Meg.
I think, yeah.
We can also let people give people the link for getting the full charter online.
Yeah, that will be on the website.
Yeah,
for sure.
Right.
I think that's it for the outreach subcommittee, except for the fact, except just one thing, Julian, the survey, the town staff, this is not about listening sessions, the town staff and elected officials survey that we discussed at length. I sent a final sort of test drive version for everybody, and I just want to take the opportunity to make sure that I have a green light to lock that down. And I have one question to raise with the group that came up in the conversation with Sam Giffen. I discussed it with her, and she felt like that it might be useful and kind of legitimizing or unifying to send it out from her office like with it, you know, from her email, and have a paragraph that says the Charter Review Committee invites you to blah, 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 and then we can have an introductory paragraph with a link.
I think that would be an excellent idea, very helpful, and it would make folks in town feel more comfortable with it coming from another staff person.
Okay, so I can pursue that with Sam, but any other objections or anything to that?
Nope.
Okay.
Andy?
I just I think, as I recall, you were sending the survey to the Collins Center for their review, and did that happen? And I guess I have a question about the final section. I think we had some discussion about whether we would have one box with, here are some examples of
Yes.
areas that you might want to talk about, or if we're having separate boxes for each of those areas that you picked.
Yeah, so can I answer that directly?
Yes.
Yes, I did send Patricia the copy of the survey after our last meeting. She sent me feedback. I did those revisions and I sent it to everyone with those revisions included. I think that the most recent version, I consolidated the long version of those additional topics into just a short list. We can go back to the way I had it before, but I don't know if that, I don't want to open a can of worms because we're very close to approving this thing, but that's where it was. It did go through that last round and it did go back out to you guys for a test drive of the live page.
Got it. Meg and then Bernie.
Did Samantha have any opinion about us having a separate website? Erica?
Yeah, I addressed that a little bit ago. I was just saying that
Okay, I just good.
she could
I
see the
missed
value of
it.
it and she's going to help us with branding it. so
Great.
that
Okay.
it's legit.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I missed that.
Bernie? You're muted.
There, I turn the microphone on. No worms. I just want to make sure that we can catch the former counselors as well when we do the survey. So if Sam has those email addresses, that's fine. If not, I will try to track them down and send them to her. So
If not, I have 3 of them too. So
In order to just kind of organize the process, Bernie, if you could, I know you had posted this as a document on one of our meetings long ago.
Mhm.
If you could send the list that you had compiled of the people that you thought were the kind of the set of people to send this out to, current, former, that would be great. And then
Okay, would you like me to forward that to you or to Sam?
if you want to forward it to Sam and CC me, that would be great. And then I can
I
help
will
track it with her.
I would be happy to do that. And because my view is that the former counselors have got some valuable input. They've been through it and they've had a chance to think about it. So I really want to capture what their impressions are.
Right. And also she volunteered that she may have some addresses that we don't have. So that can be part of what I send her or communicate with her about early next week.
awesome. Andy? You're muted as well.
Muted.
Still muted.
I just looked at the survey again and I noticed that you did combine the list and have one box for them to, those are examples of things they might want to talk about, but there's one box for it, which I think is a good move. And I'm curious if Pat has anything to say about the survey, but it looked good to me.
Looks good to me too. Pat?
I did send feedback, although I did not receive a copy of the final survey. So I haven't looked at the final one. So I don't have anything to say about that one. I'm assuming that Erica read through my feedback and took what was helpful and ignored what wasn't helpful, and it's probably a fantastic product.
Just to answer that, my idea was to get the last feedback from this group and then send it to you again. because I
Oh,
did
wonderful.
take all of that in and send it to everybody.
Excellent.
Great, thank you.
Okay, great.
So
Yes,
do I need to motion about the survey? Where are we at with that?
I don't think so. I feel like we're pretty good. I mean, you can if you want.
I don't feel the need. I just
I
want to
don't
make
either.
sure, because
Yeah,
we've had a lot of debate.
great. Looks like other people agree. The only other thing that I had to share is I got an email from actually my counselor, Anna Devlin Gothier, who is the chair of the Governance Organization and Legislation Committee of the Town Council. And she was wondering if we wanted a liaison. This was a broad email sent out to all the committee chairs. And basically, she's just curious, do we want a liaison, as in a town councilor from the town council, who comes in and sits in on our meetings and asks questions but cannot vote? If the answer is no, we don't need to respond in email. If the answer is yes, we do need to respond, or I would need to respond. So if folks strongly want that, please let me know. Meg?
If this requires discussion, I suggest we bring it up at our next meeting.
It's not like a it's more of an opportunity, less of a we have to make a choice type thing. Like if we don't respond, we're just automatically saying no. It's a generic email sent out to all the town committees. And if we do respond, the council would consider giving us a liaison, but it doesn't mean they have to. It just means that we ask for one. We would probably still be pretty unlikely to get one even if we asked. Andy?
I don't see the harm of having somebody if they want to participate. I mean, it would give a sort of microphone into the council, which is going to be reviewing our stuff down the road anyway. But like you said, if it's unlikely that we're going to get somebody anyway, I don't know exactly how to respond to that. I'm curious. Maybe Pat could say have they had councils have liaisons on these kinds of things in her experience or not?
Pat?
It's rare, but it certainly happens. There are also some committees that actually have select board members or counselors on, well, select board members. I haven't seen counselors on committees. And there are some that are liaisons who may come to the meeting. It is certainly sometimes helpful, especially, but at the same time, you could also invite them to specific meetings where you might need their help more than others, rather than having them at all the meetings. It's completely up to you.
Bernie?
Yeah, I don't see the point in having a liaison, especially given all the workload that individual counselors have right now. I think Pat's suggestion that if we need to have somebody from the councils or from that particular committee sit in, we invite them. But otherwise, we really, I don't think we really need one. And frankly, as a manager, I've always advised boards and committees not to do that because it involves a certain degree of capture and a certain degree of spin on the part of the person who becomes the liaison when you go back to the body as a whole.
Mm.
I would prefer that we speak as a committee to the council as a whole and not to have the council rely on an individual to interpret what they may or may not have seen at a committee meeting, at our meeting.
Julian, you're muted.
Thank you. I would generally agree, Bernie, Erica, and then Andy, and we'll try to wrap this up.
Okay, yeah.
Just another vote of just expressing the same sentiment. I think that if we want to invite council members to participate in our conversations later on, that's great. I feel like the independence of each is important in the process, until such a time as we feel like it's useful for everybody to have members of the council present.
I'm on the same page. Andy?
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I was just wondering if we wanted to have them identify somebody, if we wanted to have somebody attend a particular meeting, who would we request, or would we just send out a request to the full council? But they have a large workload, and adding an extra 2 hours every couple of weeks is probably not the thing they want to be doing. So
I agree. I won't respond to that email. And now I will ask that we bring in the League of Women Voters as panelists for our
Yeah,
next.
Athena's had her
has her
hand
hand
up
up.
for a while.
It's been up for a while.
Sorry, I didn't see it.
A quick note, there are rules in the council's rules of procedure that govern what liaisons to boards and committees, council liaisons to boards and committees can and can't do. They can't participate in the meetings. They're just in the audience. If they're called on to answer questions, then they do that. But they don't express opinions during meetings. They basically convey what's going on in the committee to the full council to kind of keep them appraised of what's going on. But while I'm mentioning that, it would be really helpful, I think, for members to be aware of the rules, the council's rules, because they use those to figure out how to work their legislation. So if you haven't seen the council's rules, then I can forward you a link. They're on the council homepage.
Thank you, Athena. That's helpful. Okay. Any other comments, questions about this? Let's bring in the League of Women Voters as panelists, and they have a presentation. So I'll let whoever it is share their screen. And we can go through it and then ask questions. This should be pretty quick.
Is it Adrian?
Yes, it is Adrian, Darcy, and iPad. Our iPad is Phyllis Leher, I believe. Perfect. Excellent. Maybe iPad is Adrian. No. Okay, we have everybody. Excellent. Thank you. That's perfect. I'll allow you to share your screen if you'd like to share your screen.
Okay. Let's see. See the screen. Oh, that's not it. Sorry. Sorry.
That's okay.
Not doing a good job of this.
And I'm having trouble at my end. I'm sorry too.
If you want to just screen share the tab, that's perfect.
Oop, that was,
I just have to, let's see.
oh,
If
Phyllis.
you put Google Slides in present mode, that might help. It says like slideshow or whatever.
I'm having a hard time getting my video in and I need it. So let's see what's going on here.
We can hear you. So honestly, it's okay if you can't get the video in. Darcy, that looks great. Just click slideshow on it to like enlarge it because we still see your like Gmail. See where it says slideshow? Yep, there you go.
It hasn't happened before, so I'm very surprised.
Okay, we actually don't need this until, I'm just gonna minimize it until, because we don't need it until Adrian speaks.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so. Oh, dear. Do you see my introduction on the page? Oh.
Yes.
Okay, well, I guess you will be looking at that while I'm reading it.
Good afternoon.
How do I?
It's okay.
Jeez, I'm sorry.
Oh, I see what the problem is.
You can also just stop sharing and reshare again afterwards. When you're ready, just click on the CRC slideshow.
I turned mine off.
How do I?
You heard them say iPad.
Just click CRC slideshow, and then on the bottom of the Zoom screen, it should say stop sharing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And and Julian and others, while Darcy is working that out, is there something going on at your end that's not enabling me to get my video? Doesn't
No,
make sense.
it just says no camera. The two possibilities are on your computer. It might in the settings have a camera blocker type thing on it, or you might have a camera blocker app that's causing that. It doesn't look like it's an actual like thumb over the camera. It's not that. So those are the two things. But we can hear you just fine. If you're off camera, that isn't really an issue for us.
Okay,
Yeah.
are we ready? Go. Good afternoon. The League of Women Voters Charter Review Task Force thanks the members of this committee for volunteering your time to review the Amherst Home Rule Charter. As a member of the League, I served on both the first and second task forces and learned a lot both about our charter and about charters of other Massachusetts cities and towns. The task force members represented a spectrum of views and didn't always agree on recommendations. The task force winnowed their final recommendations down to 18. Then League members met on June 2, 2024 and reduced the number further, coming to consensus on the 12 recommendations they made to this committee. In our first year, the task force was chaired by Phyllis Lair. Members included Jane McGowan, Elaine Berger, and myself. In the second year, the committee consisted of Marla Jamate, Janet Potash, Julian Hines, and myself. Advisors to the committee included Adrian Terizzi and Joan Rabin. The task force also hired a UMass grad student to conduct a survey of the 11 other municipalities in Massachusetts that have a council manager form of government. He provided information on how many amendments they have made to their charters, the number of councilor seats, councilor term lengths, whether they had term limits, and the length of their lame duck periods. The presenters today are Phyllis Lair and Adrian Terizzi. Phyllis is a former chair of the League Charter Review Task Force, and Adrian Terizzi served on the 2016-2017 League of Women Voters Charter Review Committee and has been advisor to the current task force. Phyllis?
Hi, I'm Phyllis Lair, a member of the Amherst League of Women Voters and a member of the League's Charter Review Task Force. The League is a grassroots, nonpartisan policy organization of women and men that works for informed participation in government. The League influences public policy through education and advocacy. It operates on a local, state, and national level. The League voted in 2022 to conduct a review of the Amherst Home Rule Charter in relation to the League of Women Voters' good government principles. In anticipation of the town's required review in 2024, a charter review task force was formed. The task force conducted a resident survey guided by the League principles and published the results. The League's good government principles, let me share them with you. Widespread and inclusive participation, diversity in the community reflected in government, openness and full disclosure, checks and balances of power among the executive, legislative, and administrative branches of government and the electorate, honesty and non-corruptibility in all decision-making, efficiency based on professional management and timely decision-making, accountability for political and fiscal decisions. The task force focus was to examine the town council form of government in relation to the League's principles of good government. The task force studied the Home Rule Charter articles and resources about municipal and government and best practices. We met with current and former council members. We held public meetings. We reviewed the 11 other communities that share Amherst's form of government, conducted a survey, and held consensus meetings of our findings. We elicited opinions from respondents to help inform our work. Each question related to one of the good government principles. The task force survey concluded that many survey respondents were not fully satisfied with how Amherst town government is functioning. Our research also found that among the 12 Massachusetts municipalities that use Amherst's form of government, that is the council and manager, it is common to periodically amend or change home rule charters by using a variety of processes established under state law. The link to the survey, the results, as well as the comments can be found on the town websites and the league websites. The league shares its recommendations for your consideration, and thank you for listening.
Okay, now I'm going to share the slideshow again. And let's see. Do you see it?
We can see it, but we click on slideshow so it's like actually visible, not like half your screen.
Okay. Let's see. Slideshow. Here we go. Now we're starting on.
Is it? What? I don't see it yet, Darcy. It's like very small.
Oh.
Try clicking on it again. If not, maybe zoom in. It's just very small.
Is it small to everyone?
Yeah, it's a fraction of the screen.
I can read it, but some folks
Yeah.
not have 19-year-old eyes.
Slide control, would that make it bigger?
Will the down arrow by the slideshow do anything?
That one right there. Right there.
Oh, yeah, there. Is that?
Yeah, start slideshow. Click start slideshow. Perfect. Nice.
Excellent. Okay. So we're starting on this slide. Adrian?
Adrian, you might be muted. It does say still loading.
Okay, so hello everybody. I'm from some remote location down in South Amherst. Anyway, I'm Adrian Terezi, and I'm going to be presenting the task force amendments tonight. Now, I've been in town a long time, but not as long as the Amherst League of Women Voters, which was founded in 1993, when there were more cows in Amherst than people. Now, we've since studied a range of public policy issues, and with member consensus, we have official local positions on housing. We've run many forums on that, and perhaps you were at one of ours. Education in our schools, energy and the environment, business and economic development in Amherst, libraries, healthcare, and our local government, which we have studied since the late 1940s, when the town budget was creeping towards $1 million, and the need for professional town management became very real and a very hot topic. Perhaps a few of you might know that a few years later, Alan Torrey was hired as the first town manager. Now, involvement in local government issues has been a core effort over our past 86 years, including in all town charter commissions in which we studied and participated. 1994, 2001, again in 2003 and 2016. And the League simultaneously reviewed and updated our own positions on the structures and functions of what we as residents should expect of good government. So now we're ready for that slide on good government principles. The amendments which I'll present are based on the concepts, principles, and practices of our current good government position, adopted in 2019 and reapproved at every annual membership meeting since. Those principles were mentioned a little earlier by Phyllis. I hope they're on the screen.
They are.
Okay, I'm unable to see, but please follow along with me.
I
The legal,
can't see them either.
I'm not seeing them.
Oh,
It just says loading.
Loading.
Like a browser screen, it just says loading.
Same here, yeah. Do you, oh, also, just out of curiosity, when was the league founded?
1993.
1939.
I'm sorry.
1939. Okay, I was gonna say
Did
1993.
I say 93?
Yeah.
I meant
was gonna say.
1939. I'm getting all my dates mixed up here. Thank you for the correction on that. 1939, and yes, it is
No
a bona
problem. I was
fide
gonna
fact.
say, if it was 1993, there'd be a lot of cows in the neighborhood.
No, and we couldn't be 86 years old, could we? So let me get on with those good government principles, practices, and concepts. Are they up yet? There we go. So follow along with me. The League of Women Voters of Amherst believe that good local government should maximize the following: widespread and inclusive participation, and that diversity of the community be reflected in local government in order to affect understanding, ownership, and decision making. Number 3, because I combine those two, openness and full disclosure of the decision-making process. Believing that residents have the rights to expect early and open access to the process. Checks and balances of power. Checks and balances among the executive, legislative, and administrative branches and the electorate, and certainly the balance of power of shared responsibility. Number 5, the expectation of honesty in all decision-making and avoidance of undue influence of special interests by town officials and appointees. Number 6, efficiency based on professional management and timely decision-making, balancing maximum efficiency in making decisions with informed deliberation and citizen participation. Again, believing that citizen petitions and requests should be acted upon in a timely manner. Finally, the last position is that government must be accountable for political and fiscal decisions with clear rationale and processes and full disclosure during our deliberations. So we can take that slide away, Darcy, and let's go on to the next several slides. These are our recommendations based on the League's good government positions for improving the effectiveness, efficiency, and transparency in the executive and legislative branches in the current Amherst Home Rule Charter. Darcy, I don't see the good I don't see, yes, I do, sorry. So as was
the slides.
Yeah, we're good. So it's
Okay.
been mentioned that the League, by Darcy, that the League reached consensus on 12 charter amendments at our June 2024 member-only meeting. 2 others were referred for further study to the Amherst League, and another 2 were referred to the state for advocacy. I'll go through these in the next slides. So we can go to the next slide and hold on to your questions, which we'll be happy to get to as soon as we complete those slides. There aren't many. So come along with me. The League Task Force recommends a charter preamble. I was pleased to see it on your agenda tonight. So we recommend that any change to a charter include a preamble with a mission and values statement, together with the goals for an Amherst town government. Can we get up Article 2, Darcy? We're going to be talking about the recommendations, which we have several for the legislative branch of town government. I don't see it moving.
It's there, it's
Should be
there.
on Article 2 now.
I only
I
see
don't
good
see it.
government principles.
It's on good government.
You don't see Article 2, Town Council?
No.
No. I'm glad I'm not the only one, Erica.
Any difference?
No.
Nope.
No, we can wait a few minutes because I think it's important to see the slide on this.
It's right there.
Julian, do you have any idea about why this is advancing for us, but not?
Darcy, are you
Oh,
sharing the application or the screen?
it does say your screen sharing is paused.
It says pause. I don't know why. I still have you having full screen sharing.
Maybe email it to Julian and he can put it up.
Yeah, actually, that is a smart idea.
Yeah,
I will do
that's
that.
a great idea. You should already have it, right?
Yeah, yes, I do.
Julian,
I have it in my email. Just give me 30 seconds.
I don't know why it's paused.
The gremlin.
Mm,
The gremlin did it.
Put it at
let
my
me find
house.
the presentation.
Julian, Bernie has his hand up.
Yeah, go ahead, Bernie. Just give me a minute here. Trying to get this up. Turns out it's still difficult for
Bernie,
me.
you're muted. Bernie, you're muted. Julian, maybe you can unmute Bernie.
I cannot. I don't have those.
Typically, people are trying to mute me, not unmute me. I was just simply going to ask if any of this, these slides are materially different from what's already been submitted to the committee, because the league did do a submission, and the league also has a pretty thorough presentation on their website. So just as alternatives to looking at this.
What slide should I be on, Darcy?
2.
Article 2.
Okay, so I'm in the right place. You all can see that?
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm gonna mute and get my camera off so you guys can actually pay attention and not have me in the way.
Can we have Bernie's question answered though?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know the answer, Darcy.
Well-
Yeah, no, there is other material that Adrian is covering in her presentation. Actually, all three of us did add other information about the leaks process. So yeah, these are our
Okay.
recommendations, but we wanted to present them in case you had questions about them.
Oh, okay, I just want to, if this slide deck is different from what's already been sent to us, please send us this slide deck. Otherwise, I'll just continue to pay attention to the presentation.
Right there.
Just let me know when to
It
the
is
next slide.
different.
Be ready for the next slide.
It is different. It's abbreviated from what you already have on your website.
Adrian?
Well, I'm waiting for some consensus as to how to continue.
Continue
What is the will of the group? Because essentially, I'm going to be either going through the next several articles, or if Darcy and Phyllis agree, I can go to the referred, the recommendations on the transitions and the 4 referred articles. The 2 to the state and 2 to the league.
Why don't you just continue, Adrian? This is a very short presentation.
I think we've taken more time by discussing this.
I,
All right,
I
let me
would
go
agree.
ahead.
Just continue and let me know when to say next. Say next
All right.
slide when you're ready for me to
We'll,
transition.
we'll go through these quickly. I know it's very difficult to be talked at. Read along with me, please, and we can move through it together. As you see, there are several items under Article 2, the legislative branch and town council, to shorten the current period between election and inauguration of councilors to be no more than 3 weeks, to lengthen and stagger terms for elected offices, provide each town councilor with an equal opportunity for voice and vote on standing council committees, provide the town council with the power to hire its own legal counsel or analyst, and require a second in order for a counselor to postpone discussion under section 2.1. Let's go to the slide on slide. Article 3, please, executive branch, the town manager. We have 2 recommendations. We recommend a clean delineation of the town manager's powers. That's section 3.2, and certainly for committee and board applications overseen by a town manager to be made public, but with the consent of the applicant.
Julian, can you advance the slide, please?
Great.
Okay, we're on Article 5. Very good. So certainly Article 5 you're familiar with. It's the financial policies and procedures of the Home Rule Charter. And we support, the task force has sent the support with consensus of the league members for an amendment that resident members have the right to vote on committee decisions. Full right of those 3 resident members. The next Article 8 of the Home Rule Charter, as you know, is public participation mechanisms.
Can you advance, Julian? There it is.
Now, what you obviously see, if we've gone through the charter article by article, statement by statement. So this is what we bring to you. I am looking at Article
Article
8,
10.
Julian. What? Thank you. Article 8, public participation to provide at a minimum public comment at the beginning of all regular town council, standing council committees, and multiple member bodies. There are additions there, but when we get to the question and answer, I'm sure we'll have a few around those. It might be a good idea to have your charter booklet available because I've got some numbers for you to identify if you need them. Okay, we're ready for Article 10. These are the transition provisions. And we also have several recommendations in sections of this article.
Julian, can you advance it? Please, thank you.
Here we're going to recommend a recommitment to the 5 programs originally in the Home Rule Charter, but we're suggesting robust state legislative advocacy for those items, those programs that are going to require state legislation, state legislative advocacy. You will recall that ranked choice voting, participatory budgeting, creating a coordinated position for Americans with Disabilities Act, as well as permitting non-citizens to vote in town elections and to hold town public elective office. Finally, lowering the voting age for town elections. Those are all recommended from our study. So, that concludes the amendments that we are bringing to you. However, our next slide includes recommendations for either new or renewed state advocacy, and this is Charter 10.8. First, that local elections in even-numbered years coincide with national elections. Secondly, continued hybrid council and virtual council committee meetings, and to allow and advocate for electronic signatures on all types of resident petitions. Now, the 2 task force recommendations that we referred to the Amherst League of Women Voters for study that we felt we really wanted to share with you include the following. These are topics for additional study. A change to a council mayor form of government with or without a manager in order to have an elected executive. Now, if the town pursues this change, the League of Women Voters Charter Review Task Force also recommends a study of reducing the town council's size. Those are the recommendations for topics to study following our own study of the Home Rule Charter that we sent on to the League of Women Voters Steering Committee. The second point that we recommend, that a voter veto resident petition should require the same affirmative vote percentage as the original council vote being challenged in order for the measure to pass. That's in section 8. Okay, scratch that. No. Sorry, I have it down as 8.4. I hope I can read my handwriting on that. That's in section 8.4. Now, this concludes my portion, and I thank you for your time and hope that our work and these recommendations will be informative to your own, and we wish you the very best in the coming months ahead. I'm going to toss it back to Darcy, who will take us through the question and answer period. We're going to be here to answer your questions. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, we just thought that if you have any questions about these at this time, we'll try to field them.
Could we take down the screen, the slide, maybe? Thank
There it
you.
Okay, great. So folks have questions, please raise your hand and I'll call on you and Darcy will answer them.
I think we're all here we're going to field them
Yeah, that's
among
fine
us.
too.
Yeah.
Andy, and it looks like one other person, you've raised their hand. Andy, go ahead, and then Marcus.
Yeah, on the voter veto petition requiring the same percentage as the vote being challenged, is that, I just want to make sure I understand that. If the council passed something by a vote of 8-5, then the voter veto would need to what? To have an 8-5 proportion. I'm not quite sure what that means.
It just means that if by law or rule, the amount, the percentage that's required by the council, like some votes require a majority vote, some votes require a two-thirds vote. And if it requires one or the other, that would be the amount that would be required under a voter veto petition also.
For the veto to pass.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Marcus.
Yeah, sorry, thank you. Going back to, can you go back to the slides, Julian? Sorry, man. I think it was Article 2, your point 3. I'm just curious what you mean by
provide each town
equal
council
opportunity. Yeah,
That's a good one.
like, I mean, don't they have an opportunity to voice a vote?
Nope.
That's why I'm just kind of, if you could just explain that point, please.
Yeah, let me kick that one off. With each of these amendments, we have linked them with the positions within our good government principles. So let me say that certainly this one that speaks for an equal voice and vote. And I hope it answers your question. If not, Darcy and Phyllis will jump in. But you know that we have 4 standing committees at this point in time. Our good government principles, participation and diversity operate here. And we feel that the charter should include the process by which seats on these committees and chairmanships be filled with the goal of providing all councils with the opportunities to hold these roles in order to have participation and diversity within the four standing committees.
So, Adrian, I think Marcus is asking, is that not already the case?
Yeah, good, Darcy.
Take it away, Darcy.
Yeah, I think that there is a somewhat in some of the committees an inequality in that certain counselors have positions on two committees and some have positions on one committee. So that just means that they have twice as much voice as a committee member than those who are only on one committee. So that is just something that we think needs to be looked at to try to equalize that, because the committees are pretty powerful. They have 5 members, and when they, you know, their recommendations are usually respected by the full council.
So can I ask a question about that? Now that you got me. This is Meg. I think people might be wondering, is this also saying that a town councilor who's not on a committee would have an equal opportunity to vote on a committee? No, right? Just to be a member of it.
Yes.
No, you have a vote on a committee. There are 5 votes.
Right.
So, and they make recommendations back to the full council. So if you are on 2 committees, you get 2 votes on major issues. If you are on 1, you get 1 vote.
So another way of stating this would be to say, provide each town councilor with equal participation on standing council committees.
Well, yeah.
So it's not just voting on it and speaking at it, it's being a member of it, right?
Yeah. Yes, all of those things.
Erica?
2 questions. I think this issue relates to the issue that you, I think, brought up in a public comment a couple of weeks ago, Darcy, if I'm not mistaken, regarding a kind of equal representation of counselors on committees. I think that I'm relating that to the issue that you brought in public comment. I'm not sure if that's.
Yeah, I think I made a public comment on the same thing.
Yep.
And my other question was whether number 2 here in Article 2, lengthen and stagger terms for elected offices, if you see that in any kind of conflict with the recommendation that comes later about syncing up local elections in even numbered years to sync up with larger national elections.
Yes, it conflicts.
And does one of those take a kind of precedence in your thinking? I'm just curious because I can see a rationale for either one, but they seem to be in conflict unless there's a lot of staggering. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Marcus?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Going back to 3, there's an odd number of councillors, correct? And you mentioned an even number of committees. It's not possible to have equal representation until you artificially create an odd number of committees, right?
No, I think that there are various remedies that people have put forward. Councillor Brewer put forward a proposal to have 3-member committees. And we don't have to work this all out among involves, but there are different ways that it can be done to give an equal voice to.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions for the league? Comments, etc.? Raise your hand.
Maybe you could take down the screen.
Yep,
Thank
I
you.
don't see any other hands. Last call. No.
I guess
Oh,
just,
okay. Yep.
well, just for transparency, I'm a member of the league and I participated in the ending consensus process, just to transparency.
I was involved in the whole thing, so that's totally fine. That's why I turned my camera off and didn't say anything, so it didn't seem as if I had a undue influence. I didn't want to, but yeah. Okay. Thank you, everybody. And have
Thank you for your time, and we appreciate your efforts and what you're trying to do to make our town a better place. It's a lot of work, we know, but thank you for doing it and taking the time.
And I would just add that if you haven't already looked at the feedback links on your website, there's a lot of different links that show our presentations. We we had different presentations on the different articles and where we went through all the rationales. We didn't go through the rationales tonight because we do have it on your website, but we hope that you'll take the time to look at each one of the recommendations and look at the rationales, look at all the presentations, and because we put a lot of time into it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
So
you. Thank you. Good night.
have a nice night. Bye-bye. Excellent. Can we move them back to the
Yeah.
these? Thank you.
I can.
And Adrian. See if she's there. Yep, great. Alrighty, thank you, Athena. We will now move on. We have to the Collins Center work plan. And I will ask Patricia to Pat to come in and speak to this, and then we will work on the charter outline and Article 1 review, followed by reviewing feedback and a charter preamble draft discussion if we have time. If not, we will end it on probably the preamble draft or the reviewing feedback. All right, Pat, go ahead.
That was a very good discussion. I am going to start by saying, I started to take a look at creating a work plan, and I roughed out a very rough schedule. However, that will all change and will need to be changed. Partially because I want to make sure that the dates you have down for the meetings, which right now go through July 31st, are still the dates that you intend. And that's number one. And secondly, I had included the dates of the public participation sessions as originally looked at, and it looks like those have all changed too. So what I'm going to share is just for an example. It is not in any way set in stone as to how we're going to go through this. I'm definitely going to be changing it around once we have our dates. Let's make sure that I can find it. Let's see. I think if I hold on, I'm going to cancel that. I have far too many things open, so I'm not going to actually, I'm not going to share the draft work plan that I have right now unless I can find it on here. Here we go. Okay, tell me if you see something that says meeting dates on it.
Yes.
Yep,
Wonderful.
perfect. Nice and big.
Wonderful. So, this is what I had sketched out, and it's more for an example as to an understanding that we don't have a lot of time and we have a lot of chapters to go through, a lot of articles to go through. And I had included the listening sessions and the other sessions in it that I saw from one of the memos that were online as an attachment to your meeting. But those are obviously changing. For example, I noticed that your next meeting is supposed to be May 22nd, but the original listening session was May 22nd as well. So my question for the committee is, were you planning on having one of your listening sessions being during a regular meeting? Or was that just an oversight that the original date was May 22nd, the same as a regular meeting?
Oversight, but it's not happening then anyway, so.
We're a little bit off schedule because we had one meeting that came after a week as opposed to two, so our rhythm is off, and on top of that, we moved the May 22nd to May 29th. So it's not entirely oversight, it's a couple of things moved.
Yeah.
Okay. Your the listening session was moved, or your regular meeting has been moved? When is your next meeting?
2 weeks from tonight.
So May 22nd.
May 22nd. Yes.
Okay, great.
And the
But
Crocker
just
Farm,
not the listening session. Okay, and then afterwards, you have a document on your website that lists your next meeting. So that's what I incorporated. Those are the ones in white. And they may have changed. I'm not sure. For example, you have the 5th of June, and then you go to the 26th of June, which I think might be more than 2 weeks. But and then July 3rd, 17th, and 31. I have those as your next meeting. So the listening sessions will move. Pardon me?
I don't know if you want to hear what two of them are confirmed.
Oh, great. Yeah, you gave them to me earlier. I just haven't updated
That's
them.
okay. Yeah.
But I think that you said the May 22nd, well, May 22nd is going to be the 29th.
Yeah.
We'll
You don't have to
assume.
worry about it now unless it's helpful.
But it is, I mean, this is just a visual for you to see how much material you have to get through. If you're hoping to get through by the end of July to come up with some recommendations for your first report. Obviously, you may decide that you need more time to go through these, and I don't expect you to get through these as quickly as I put them on here. I just laid them out for, best case scenario. If you go through very quickly, this is what you have to do to get through all the articles.
Great.
And, as I said, it'll likely take longer than this. And as we heard tonight, there are already a number of ideas that you're going to want to discuss in each that have already been identified. So we may go through this and identify some areas for discussion. However, it may take more than one meeting for you to accomplish that. So there's going to be some overlap. And I anticipate it to either take a little longer, which you can, put an extra meeting in here and there, which would be really tough for you over the summer, given all of your listening sessions as well. But we'll talk about this, the end date's in October. This will get spread out a little bit more, but given the meetings you have on the calendar, I just want you to understand it. You'd have to work pretty aggressively to get through the whole charter. But it's just a start. We're going to change this, and it will be a moving target. So I'm going to stop sharing that. Great. So that's where we're at as far as a work plan, but I'd love to hear from you. We are going to be going back and forth. Now that we have some, we've talked about some of the feedback that you had from the League of Women Voters. I'm wondering if you would like me to specifically insert their issues and their suggestions into the conversations of each section, along with the public comment, or if you are, want to continue to, if you know now that those are things that you're going to consider, or if you'd like to just go through and, as we discuss it, decide, what you want to talk about.
Bernie?
Yeah, hi Patricia, it's good to meet you. I was absent at the last meeting, so my apologies for that. The comments that the league made are included in the definitive list of comments that Meg and Andy assembled and that we had ChatGTP sort into themes. So they're in there already. There's no need to add them in. And you know, I think for me at least, I'd want to debate some of the discussion that the league presented because some of it is off base, in my humble opinion. So we've already taken into account their recommendations and a minority statement by one of their members who had a couple of disagreements with consensus presence.
Meg.
Can't hear you, Meg.
We cannot hear you, but you're not muted, so something else is going on. I'll come back to you. Raphael?
Can you hear me now?
Oh,
No.
yep, that's better. Go ahead.
Patricia, you said something that I want to, is very important. I want to clarify. We've talked about going through the charter, and to me, it hasn't been clear whether you're going through in order to say in the next meeting, it's all spelled out in the calendar that you just showed us, what we each think, or are we going to use those discussions of each article to talk about the comments that the public has already made, of which there are, I think, 84 comments as of a month ago. And I feel for us to reach the end of July and not have been seriously discussing and debating the feedback and hearing, you know, I'm eager to hear what Bernie thinks and about the feedback, not what we think, but what we're hearing. I feel strongly that we need to use that process of going through each.
Raphael.
Yeah, following that.
Start commenting on post list sessions so people think we're hearing it.
I'm gonna, yeah. Go ahead, Raphael.
Following point, I think surfacing that perhaps it would be great to have a subcommittee who's attending to feedback and perhaps coupling that with review of charter. I also want to note, like, and in the spirit of what the League of Women Voters just shared, I think it's really important to have widespread participation. I wonder, yes, they did an enormous amount of work, but I think that widespread participation in terms of voices in town matters. So I just want us to be cognizant of that. In addition to that, I don't know what the process is in terms of, we kind of had a listening session with them tonight. Can other orgs take our time in that way? And I get it, they've done a lot of work, but I think like we also have a lot of work to do connected to additional feedback that might come in. We have what they've shared and are sort of grappling with feedback against parts of the charter. So I just want to raise that. So I don't know if folks want to have some sort of plan in place where people are attending to maybe new comments that are coming in or new sort of response.
Sure. Andy?
Andy, you're muted.
You're muted. Still muted.
Andy, you got to turn your mic on.
I like the idea of having a subcommittee that could be focused on the feedback and continuously summarizing and collecting and you know, organizing it so that we can consider it. And I'd be happy to be part of that. I was thinking that we were going to go through a couple of articles each meeting to just familiarize ourselves with what's in the charter. But I think I take Meg's point that that's a lot of time. So maybe in each of these meetings where we're talking about two articles, we first summarize what's in it, and then we look at what the feedback has been on each article that we've just summarized. So you know, but we would need to have then suggestions that are boiled down to which article they're relevant to, and some of them might not be relevant to any particular article. They might be relevant to multiple ones, but
Right.
I think that'd be a challenge that could be resolved.
Yeah,
I'd be, I mean, the work that Meg and I did, it's basically just going through and summarizing, every single bullet point that somebody sent in. You get like 100 of them, and then Bernie takes it and feeds it into Chat GPT, and you get themes. And then we look at it and say, are those themes right? But I mean, we can look at the full list and we can look at the themes. And I think, if we have a process by which we're like, okay, tonight we're looking at, I mean, 2 and 3 is going to be pretty meaty because those are two of the meatiest ones. But if we're looking at 1 or 2 per meeting and we summarize it quickly and then we say, what have we heard about that article? I think that'll be productive.
sounds good. Erica?
I just wanted to second or third the idea of having a kind of a subcommittee that's in charge of rounding up and organizing the feedback that's coming in and making it correspond to the article review that we're doing in that particular week, and having that pattern kind of continue over the course of the summer sounds really constructive to me. And I also wanted to kind of second what Raphael brought up, which is the idea of the League of Women Voters has a particular role and a particular place in the work that they did, but there may be other sort of civic groups or third things that are not the general public and are not the town staff, but are like a kind of in the space of a civic group of some kind or other that we could consider inviting into this conversation in a different way that isn't a poll or a general listening. And I just wanted to put that out there. I think it has a real value, because what's different in what the League of Women Voters generated than the general comments that we're going to get or the general survey that we're going to do is the depth of the rationale behind every one of those recommendations. I'm not saying that people are making comments without rationale, but having a group that is focused around making recommendations and have had their own discussions or thought process behind it carries a different kind of weight.
I'm just going to add in my comment and then I'll go to Marcus and Bernie, which is to answer your question, Erica. I think pretty soon, possibly even at the next meeting, if not in the future, we will be having in folks from I'm not sure, I think it's called the Save Our Schools Coalition. And they're like an activist group, a town sort of committee of different residents, parents, kids, etc., who have a lot of concerns about the school budget, Article 5, that sort of stuff. And they'll come and present at our meeting. You all probably have gotten an email from them, slightly more informally, but similarly to what the League of Women Voters did. So that's how I'm trying to reach out to some other groups in the community as well. Marcus.
Sorry, trying to find the button on my speaker thingy. Yeah, I was just I'm good with, I like the idea of a subcommittee to sort through the comments and get it all sorted out. Certainly like the volunteer on that one. Because I think I agree. The earlier we can get to them, the better, so yeah.
Bernie.
Yeah, I will be happy to volunteer to work on any committee that goes through and looks at the comments we're getting back and trying to sort the feedback out and organize the feedback. We're going to have a couple of different layers of discussion. We're going to have one layer of discussion that I'll characterize as by the remark, we need to clarify the powers of the town administrator or the town manager, which is a pretty broad-ranging thing and gets us in some ways into what the statutes rely. And then we have another piece that is more in the weeds. Should one counselor be able to postpone a vote for one meeting and why? And so we also need to take a look at the rules that the council set for itself, because those are based on the charter. And in some cases, if you're going to argue about equity in committees, the committees aren't listed other than the finance committee. They're creations of the council. and based on the council's rules. So we're going to have to look at that. I would caution about having advocacy groups coming before the committee in using our time during formal meetings. We need all the time we can get to begin to discuss some prospective changes in the charter and to look at the nuts and bolts of the charter. That is not well served, in my opinion, by having people coming in and arguing about the school budget, which is a thing that's independent of the charter. So I would be, folks want to have those, they want to show up at one of the feedback meetings and and do presentations there. All power to them. They're welcome to do that. People are always welcome, and I thank the league for this, along with a number of other commentators for submitting stuff in detail in writing, that we have something substantive to look at and think about and peruse. So I'm going to volunteer to be on whatever committee's formed to organize feedback. And again, my caution is that our time is precious, and we're losing time every time we have an advocacy group come in to promote a cause, as opposed to substantive changes in the charter that will help, will benefit the town.
Ken,
I like the idea of the subcommittee. I also think that that subcommittee would probably be on tap then after our public input meetings to collate all those comments as well. We haven't talked about specifics about how we're going to go out and do that. Maybe we're going to look at recordings or something, but just be careful. That's I would imagine that's part of that. I would imagine that subcommittee will be handling those as well. I'm interested in being in that subcommittee as well, but just want to be clear that that's going to probably fall on us.
I'm hearing a lot about a subcommittee, and I think it's a great idea. Does someone want to make a motion to create that committee, or who to appoint for it, or do we want to wait for next meeting for that?
I think we should do it now.
I agree.
I was going to say, I think I'm struggling if it falls in the, within 48 hours or whatever.
Doesn't matter. We're meeting.
True.
Erica?
I wanted to suggest that the idea of having other groups, advocacy, or really I was thinking more of civic organizations that might have something to say that is structurally different than what the general public says, that could be, I don't want to give away any of our meeting time because I feel the same. It's important that we retain this time for our business. But for instance, we could structure a virtual session with kind of scheduled times with 3 different organizations in one evening, for instance, with the 20 minutes that we spent with the league, for instance, do something similar where we spend 90 minutes with a series of invited civic groups. But I did want to clarify, you mentioned that the schools organization, Julian, that's coming, are you soliciting groups to come? Are people asking to come and you're saying you're scheduling them? How is that working?
So this is a good question. So I've heard from some of our committee members that we want people to come in and give presentations and so on and so forth. Then folks email me and say, hey, we'd like to come in and give a presentation. Or even honestly, both Darcy and the Save Our Schools group, I just saw them both in town and happened to know folks who lead them. And they said to me, how's your charter committee going? We'd like to come and speak with you all. And I say, okay, here's a way we can organize this and formalize it and get some of the public feedback, because I know we're creating avenues and all this other stuff for public feedback, and that's important. But I figured let's actually get feedback from the public and from these groups that have already done a bunch of research into the topic and are sort of experts in some of these areas in the meantime. So that's sort of the answer to your question. Meg?
I'm happy to propose the committee, but I want to make a couple of comments, so I don't know if I can do that and propose the committee, but I strongly support it. The second, quickly, there's a whole lot more information on the town website than the content from the league. I know myself, at least 4 or 5 people have come to me and said, hey, why don't you say this at your, sent me long emails of what they wanted me to bring up. And I've said, you need to submit that yourself. Here's the link to the website. That happened just today. So there's a lot there that's way beyond what the league said. I want to emphasize something Bernie said, which is there's feedback we're getting that isn't about the charter. It's about management and practice, how things happen, transparent, and a lot of the transparency suggestions are not about things in the charter, but they're about how the town, various people have decided to do things. And I agree with Erica that we don't want people to come in and lobby for the school budget, but there are some groups that have thought a lot about particular issues and how the town deals with them that might be legitimate. I don't know, I appreciate what Bernie said, but there might be some screen we could think of that would identify the groups that it's appropriate to have in and give a brief presentation, not necessarily 20 minutes. There's some place in the middle there. Certainly we don't want people to come in and lobby for, the school budget or policy
I'm just going to interrupt you, Meg, and say that I understand the concern, but some of the folks on the committee aren't aware of this. I have met with these folks and emailed these folks, League of Women Voters, other groups I'm inviting, and have directly sat down with them with the charter in front of us and said, please make your suggestions charter specific and look at this document and do your research and come to us with suggestions in writing related to the charter. So I'm not just bringing in people I like to say something that they don't really know what they're talking about. I am meeting with them beforehand and pointing them to the charter and saying, look in this document, where do you want to make these changes, and working with them beforehand so that they can come to this committee with an educated perspective and filter it specifically for what this committee deals with. So I understand your concern. I just wanted to inform you folks that that's what's happening beforehand. That's sort of the behind the scenes work that's going into it that you all might not see.
Julian, I had my hand up.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to circle back to what Bernie said about work to be done and circle back to Pat's work plan. And if you look at what's there, there's a lot of work for us to do. I think it would be great if your work that you're doing, it's great outreach, surface to the whole committee. And I think we want to be really careful about surfacing that and who we are engaging with. I think if we're bringing folks, perhaps there should be a process. I don't think we should. I think if we want to include other sessions where organizations want to check in with this committee, I think that's fine. But I think these meetings, if we look at the work plan, there's a lot to do. And I think that's the work that I think we should focus on here. We don't have to do all that outreach, connecting with orgs here alone. But I think what you're doing, Julian, great. But I think we want to be clear, or I would like to be clear, we're making sure that there's equity in some ways. I think you could frame the League of Women Voters invitation in a particular way. They did all this work, so we invited them. But there might be others who say, League of Women Voters got a platform. Why don't I have the same? And I think we want to be sort of careful about that. So again, I think maybe we do that in another space, but doing it here is just tricky. If you think about what we were charged with doing tonight, we won't get to that. So I think we really need to be cognizant of time.
Bernie?
Yeah, I think if any group, and there are probably several in town, want to submit to this committee a written statement showing us how the charter is affecting their particular issue and how their particular issue might be better addressed by changes in the charter, then they should send us that. And if it's compelling enough that we, as a majority of the committee, feel we should interview them because they've gotten some insight here that we haven't seen before, that then we invite them in. Or as Raphael suggested and others have suggested, we have another time for people to come who want to lobby us about a particular cause. But our meetings here, the meetings that are on that work plan, are meetings to get stuff done to finish the reports and to make some reasonable recommendations about tweaks in the charter. So, you know, I appreciate the fact that people are out, you're out, Julian, and others are out soliciting feedback, but that feedback should come to the committee in writing, and then the committee should be able to decide whose arguments or whose concerns are compelling enough that we need to bring them in and meet with them during one of our working meetings. Otherwise, let's set up some time. And if we're going to have a feedback committee, I volunteer to be on the feedback committee. Maybe that feedback committee could hear from some of these groups. But, you know, off the top of my head, having sat on the finance committee now for 5 years, there's no connection between the charter and the budget debate around the regional school. So I'm not sure what people want to do. If they have a unique perspective that will, you know, create some new information, send it to us in writing. And in the future, if a group feels that they want to address the committee, we should either arrange for a time to do that or get committee consensus about having them come before the committee and take up our working time on this. You know, we're scheduled, folks, the outreach committee's done a great job of outlining a public information session. And those are open to anyone who want to show up. And we will take that information and we will make the best use of it. So let's keep that in mind and let's use that as a mechanism for having other groups come in and communicate.
Andy?
Muted.
The League of Women Voters feedback, just as an example, was they had already submitted it and it was already in the summary that we had put together. So I've already seen it. I didn't gain anything new tonight from hearing them read it to us. And I think we can be very faithful in transmitting whatever people will send us in writing. Or in the sessions that we'll have that are designed for public input. And I think we can design public input session for organizations that want to speak to us. But I think, you know, I think that this time that we have together is for deliberation and learning together and coming up with recommendations. So I guess I'm supporting what I heard from Raphael and from Bernie and several others. I mean, if somebody approaches us with a question about what, you know, is this relevant to charter review, we could forward that to the Collins Center and they can give us answers on, is this, you know, if it's a legal question or a question about what's appropriate to a charter, we can get their feedback. But I don't think we should be spending our meeting time listening to people read to us what they could send us in writing.
I think we've gotten a little bit over time and far off of our agenda item. And I will respond quickly, which is that I would say with both these groups, you have gotten things in writing, submitted through the proper channels already. And then the other thing I would say is that it is all of our jobs to go through that and read that and educate ourselves. And it is my job as chair to have that discretion in the agenda setting and to say, okay, here's feedback that I'd like to invite that we should bring in, that we should discuss, that we should get more information on, talk to the Collins Center about, etc. And I go through all that feedback and make those decisions. I totally respect that the committee wants input, and I give you all input. You all can email me at any time to add things to the agenda, to subtract things from the agenda, etc. And I usually listen to you all, but it is the chair's discretion as to what goes on the agenda. And I take some of the stuff from public comments to put on the agenda, just as I take from you all. And I think not giving the public that opportunity is limiting our outreach and scope, in my opinion. But I'm going to try to move us along. We can discuss the next agenda item. We can adjourn, given that we're over time. But I think this is, at this point, beyond the scope of the committee directing me as chair, and also beyond the scope of the agenda item that was actually proposed to be discussed. Meg?
I hope this is welcome. If not, you can say no. Move that we create a committee to review and organize, not interpret, but just review and organize the feedback. And I suggest, I make that motion.
I'll second that motion. Seconded. Thank you, Meg. Discussion on that motion, Andy, and then Raphael.
I support that.
Same.
Awesome. I would call that thirded. Raphael.
No, let's finish with this first. I have something else.
Any other discussion on this issue? No. Meg, you still have your hand up?
No,
Okay.
I'm just walking because the better.
Great. I'll move to vote for that subcommittee. I'm an aye. Meg?
Yes.
Raphael?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Bernie?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Erica?
Yes.
Marcus?
Yes.
Unanimously approved. I'll take nominations for that committee next. Can you please
I'm
raise
a
your
no-
hand on Zoom, not in person, if you would like to serve on that committee? Excellent. I see.
Yay.
Okay, I see 4 folks. I'm not, did you specify in your motion how large of a committee you want?
Nope.
Great. Guys, have at it. I don't see a problem with all of you.
You want to?
Explain it, quite frankly. Not a quorum of the committee.
Do you just want to
Great.
speak for the record who is?
Yeah,
Just note that Raphael had his hand up.
Marcus
No, I
Smith.
didn't have my. I did not have. I didn't have my hand up, man.
Marcus Smith, Bernie Kubiak, Ken LeBond, and Andy Churchill would like to serve on the committee. I will nominate them if the committee.
Sorry.
That's okay. The subcommittee.
Sorry, Raphael.
No worries.
Sorry.
But you had your hand up before. So I meant-
Before.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Marcus, do you still have a comment, or is your hand just up? Raphael, go ahead with your comment.
I heard you in your role as a chair. I appreciate your outreach. It's great that you're engaging with folks, but I think your process, for me, it would be great if you surface it in terms of just your decision-making approach.
Yeah, I hear
That
you.
would help.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm happy to share more with the committee about that in the future. Andy?
Yeah, just along those lines, I think, having been a chair, I think it's important that you're facilitating the will of the group, and that it's a tough role, and it's a servant role, and I think I liked some of what Bernie was saying about that if we're collecting input and the group feels that we should talk to particular groups or individuals who have particular input, that we should vote to do that rather than just leave that burden on you. So.
Yeah. Raphael?
And I'll say it, add to that as a footnote, as someone who's chaired, that will of the group and engagement with the group is important.
Yeah.
So I hope you think about that moving forward. I appreciate all the work though, for sure.
Yeah. Other comments, questions? Would we all like to leave, or would we like to approach the next agenda item? Pat?
Just in case you vote to leave, if I could just,
Please.
I just wanted to mention that I will not be able to be at the May 22nd meeting. We will be figuring out as a team whether one of us is going to come, or if we're going to set up a series of action items for you to go through and talk about and make a decision on. And we'll talk to that. I'll talk to Julian at our planning meeting. But one thing was mentioned, the Collins Center would love to hear, in advance what, when you're going through your public feedback, we'd love to hear through Julian, what issues are you going to be really considering for discussion? Because we like to do our own research. We have a whole team of people who have worked on so many charters, and it's so helpful if in advance of the meeting, I can go and ask them, about their experiences with these different issues. So anything you can give us in advance, because you are going to get hundreds and hundreds of comments publicly, and you cannot possibly deal with every single one. Some of them will rise to the top as something that you need to take a serious look at. And so we would love to know what those issues are. And those are usually filtered through the chair. And that's usually, however, we may want to, now that you have a public, you have a public outreach subcommittee, and you'll have a public input subcommittee, maybe I can, either through Julian or in some other way, hear from you about what's going on. So for example, if you have dates, that's really helpful for me to know as I'm going forward with your work plan. So I would just love more input from you. And usually we do it through the chair, but maybe we'll work out something where, you can send someone to our planning meeting or something like that, so that we know what the issues are going to be, what the important dates are, et cetera, in between our meetings, so that when we do come to you with materials, we're really prepared to talk about the issues. So that's all I'll say. I just didn't want you to adjourn without talking to you.
Hey, Jillian, your
Thank
mic
you
is
so
on.
much, Pat. Bernie?
Yeah, the last meeting, folks got a chance to introduce themselves to Pat, and Ken and Marcus and I didn't have that opportunity, and I was wondering if you could take it.
Sure, go right ahead.
Marcus, you want to start?
No, you asked for the opportunity.
I'm sharing the wealth here.
No, I'm Marcus Smith, member of the committee. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, we talked last time about why we chose to be part of the committee. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I really wanted to kind of get a look into it. It's been, this is the first time to take a look and see what's going on. I think I'd like to continue the way, the progression that the town thought, well, the voters thought about, and how we can get it a little, if there's any room to get it better. So,
Erica?
I was here last time, so I did
great.
introduce myself.
I wasn't sure if that was why you had your hand up.
No, different issue.
Bernie?
Yeah, I'm Bernie Kubiak. I'm the local government nerd. I've been a selectman and finance committee member in 2 different towns. I've managed 3 towns. Was a commissioner. I worked for the late unlamented Hampshire Council of Governments. Got a master's in public policy from UMass, and Mike Ward will deny it, but long ago, far away, he actually interviewed me and recommended me as an interim town administrator. So I'm here because I really cherish local government. It's close to the people. Things happen quickly. The idea is I worked a long time in human services, and the idea is to produce the best, most effective government we can for the 40,000 plus souls call Amherst home.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ken?
I'm Ken LeBlond. I have lived in Amherst for about 12 years. I have a master's in public administration, have served, have worked at all levels of government in my career. Currently work for University of Massachusetts. I have always wanted to join a town committee, and frankly, none of the committees sounded that interesting until this one popped up. And this was like a jack of all trades committee, I think, because we're looking at everything. And I like that broad view, as sort of daunting as it can be, but that's what makes me most interested in it.
Julian, you're muted. Yeah, there you go.
Sorry. Andy and then Erica.
I think Erica had her hand up first.
Go ahead, Erica. Yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to request, I guess, an agenda item for our next meeting, which will be a week before we have our first listening session. I feel after the last couple of meetings that we need to review and revise our schedule of upcoming meetings, especially having seen what's landing with the work plan, the listening sessions, the pattern of work that we need to do over the summer, that we should really have another look at it and make sure it still makes sense, and whether the 2-week cadence makes sense all the way through, and just really kind of study it a little bit and come up with a new plan.
Okay, good. Andy?
Yeah, I just wanted to suggest that maybe the feedback subcommittee should meet at the same time as the outreach subcommittee in the off Thursdays. You know, that when we're not meeting as a whole group, and we should plan to post that meeting for, you know, next. When do you folks outreach? You meet 6 to 8 or something on the, or do you do 7 to 8? I don't know what you do exactly.
We have done the alternate Thursdays at 6:30, and then when we have not been able to meet on a Thursday for whatever reason, we have done a late meeting on a Wednesday from time to time.
Okay. So, I mean, should we plan to meet next Thursday at 6:30, the 4 of us?
It also depends on Athena's
We need to be able to have a meeting.
Yeah.
We can do this outside the meeting. We can email to do some housekeeping about the next one. It doesn't need to be figured out right now.
Okay.
Good idea.
Athena, will you email us, or do you want me to email the group?
Why don't you email the group to kick things off, Andy? Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Athena. Other questions, comments before we adjourn?
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna, since we were flashing around our educational prowess, you know, our introductions, and I forgot to completely do that myself. Sorry. I have a PhD from Georgia Tech out of in aerospace engineering, so got nothing to do with what we're doing here. But I do work for a federally funded research and development corporation, so I work day to day with the government. And
good luck.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a ride
this week.
We really have a rocket scientist.
I was gonna. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
It's all good.
Sorry, this isn't rocket science. I apologize. All right. I move to adjourn on that.
Second.
Okay. Andy?
Yes.
Me, I'm an I. Raphael?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Meg?
Yes.
Bernie? Marcus?
Yes.
Erica?
Yes.
And thank you, Pat and Athena, for sticking with us with the craziness.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Bye.